Hi, thanks for checking out our channel here. This is going to be a kind of a testing video slash little repair video. This unit we just worked on, fixed it, got it going for the customer, and I was on the phone talking to him about the price, and he's fixing it, wanting to pay for it. I was tightening his knobs up, and I realized this black one, the whole thing spins. I mean, the knob will spin off there, but the whole thing spins. And he's like, well, yeah, that's been loose for a while, and I didn't even realize it was loose until I went to tighten up. I'm like, oh shoot. Well, if you can get it tightened up for me, appreciate it. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take this apart and get that tightened up. And if you'd like to send us one of these Parmak units for us to look at, we work on all of them, big ones, small ones, new ones, old ones. I mean, if it can be taken apart, we'll fix it for you. So we work on all brands and ages of these fence chargers. I don't care if it's old Gallagher stuff from the 80s, 90s, or old International bulldozer units back in the 60s and 70s. We'll work on anything. It's been built in the last 5 years. We'll work on all that stuff. Now, one thing about Parmak, and this is only Parmak, any other brand's not like this that I know of. We are set up through them as a repair place. We're set up with all brands as a repair place, but Parmak has a rule. It's a UL, because these are UL listed units. A little UL sticker there or stamp. A lot of brands, not every brand, but some brands are UL listed like that. See that little UL thing there? A lot of appliances and things and objects for the public are UL listed. Some things aren't, some things are. But anyways, screws out of this? Yeah, I think so. Well, anyways, about the UL stuff. Come on! They have a policy through UL, like an insurance liability policy through them, and they do not allow anybody to sell their parts. I'm set up through Parmak to work on them, but I cannot sell their parts. That's just one of the things with their brand. So if I could, I would, but I can't. That was pretty easy. All right, so what you have to do to tighten that up, if yours ever loosens up, it's on one of these digital readout type units. It's different on the metal needle gauge ones, but the plastic digital readout units and these metal ones that have a digital readout, they are basically the same on how they attach. That little piece on the inside, there's a little piece of plastic on it that's like a key, and it goes into a little notch in the metal case, and that's what keeps this inside piece to stay in place. Once you get that locked in where you want it, you hold that there. Usually you can take a pair of pliers, if you're lucky, just grab the outside of this and tighten it up. You don't want to over tighten it, of course. You could just snap and break the plastic or something, but get it where you want it, nice and snug, and then it's done. And then you can take the black knob and put it back on the outside. And if you ever have a knob that is like stubborn to go on, like it goes on, it gets kind of sticky. There's usually some crap down inside here, or some crud that's been built up on here. You can scrape it off and clean it off, but I take spray some WD-40 and that will clean it off as well. Take some like cutting oil or 3-in-1 oil or motor oil, whatever you want to use, and just put a little dab down there, just something. And this is what we use. We use the CRC cutting fluid because we use it on other stuff, and it helped clean those threads up as well. I was working back. If you find a hard spot, like, oh, it's going good, and all of a sudden you find another hard spot, go into that hard spot and let's work this thing back and forth. Go past it, work it backwards, and it'll clean it out. You can do it on either side. This one, both of them felt pretty good, but I thought I'd show you that little trick. I've had this jug for like 6 years, and it's all we've used out of it. We don't use it a lot, but when we need it, we need it. So I've used about 2 inches of that stuff out of this thing. It's covered in dust, and used to be kind of a more clearer color, but as it's aged and sat here with the sun beating on it, it's turned to kind of like a pea yellow color. I mean apple juice color, sorry. But that's the inside of an SE-4, or at least the current generation of parts for it. So, but it's a good unit. You get them in. This particular unit's a 2006 model. December 2006 is when it was built. I think the customer said he bought it in spring of 07. He said it's only had one other repair done to it. I think that's what he said. Maybe he hadn't. Anyways, this ran for years and years and years without any problems. So we're going to put the screws back in it. Well, they do make parts for it. They're not throwaway. Even though this unit has been made in probably since 2011 or 12, you still get parts for it. I can't sell them to you, unfortunately, but we can work on them. So now we'll do a little test here in a minute and get this thing back together. Now these are riveted together, but the rivets are just a pain in the neck deal, so I just put some short little screws in it. Now this unit has this digital display on it, kind of a voltage readout deal. Plug it in. Now the number on the front will vary from unit to unit. You could have 15 of these things and they'll be anywhere from 12.5 to 16. There's a little feedback wire in there that if you move it just a half an inch, this number will go up or down by half a volt, half a kV, that sort of thing. It's a feedback thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with the output of the unit. If everything's working fine, if all those numbers up nice and high, you should have good voltage here. So we'll take a tester here. Also, they don't actually put out. It says it's almost 14 kilovolts. Even says fence volts is kilovolts, so almost 14,000 volts. It's not that high. You can use a multitude of different fence testers, and every one of them never it reads exactly what it should read, but not what that display reads. So it's kind of a gimmick thing, but I'll show you what it does do, and which is a nice thing. See, we're getting about 9,000 volts out of it. 8.5, give or take. So these things pick out about between 8 and 9,000 volts, what this thing actually maxes out at voltage wise. Now you saw it show like 12, 13 or whatever it was showing, 14. This number is never consistent. As long as it doesn't jump around too much, it goes from 14 down to 8 up to 15 down to 3, then you know you've got problems somewhere. Now one thing you can do is if you walk out to your barn or building, wherever you have this thing hooked up at, if you normally see like 12 plus on there and everything's hooked up, you're fine. If you go out there a month later, for some reason you look over and the thing shows really low voltage, like 3 or 4 or 0, 0, and it's still clicking, before you start running the fence looking for problems, turn the unit off, undo your knobs, pull your wires off, and turn it back on. If the number on the front went from like 0, 0 or 3.2 or whatever it showed on here, or 8, whatever it showed, and it jumps all the way back up to 14 or 13 or 12, then the unit itself probably okay, and you have a problem out on the fence. Now if it stays down low with nothing hooked up, that means you don't need to be running the fence line looking for a problem. There's issues with this thing on the inside. And then you can box it up and ship it to a place like me that works on them, and we'll go through it and fix it up. Parts are fairly inexpensive for these things, so not too bad to fix. Labor's not that high, so they're usually pretty good to fix these Parmak units. Now one other check you could do is, I don't know what Parmak calls it, or any brand calls it, but I call it the ground fault test. If you unhook everything from it and it was showing like 0, 0 or 0.3 or some low number, and you unhook it and from the fence and ground, plug it back in, number jumps up high, Before you call it good, do one more test to it. Leave it, turn it back off again. Hook up just your ground only, no fence, just your ground, and plug it back in, turn it on. In normal working unit, it's gonna stay the same. It's gonna read 14, 13, 15, whatever it's gonna read. That's what it should do. And if it's got a fault inside itself somewhere, like a transformer or discharge board or something like that, if you hook up just the ground and you plug it back in, if the number went, say, from 14, give or take, when nothing's hooked up, and hook up just the ground and it drops like a rock, you plug it in, it shows 0, 0, 2 point whatever, a really low number, or there's an internal short somewhere in the thing. That means that there is still a problem with the unit. But that's one test you can do in the field without having to chase your tail about it. So I call that the ground fault test. I don't know what other brands think, what they call it, but that's what I call it. So usually you have to do that to certain models, like old Gallagher's. They actually require you to do it on any of their AC powered units in case there's an internal short somewhere. Parmak, we do it on the Parmax as well, because they kind of recommend it to do that, just in case, oh look, it's working just fine. All of a sudden you do the ground fault test, it just pulls it down to 0, 0 or whatever, you know, okay, shoot, there's still something wrong with it somewhere, so you got to dig a little deeper in it. So, but anyways, that's basically it. I mean, this number will change on the fly depending on what kind of load you have hooked up to it. Let me, I don't have can't find my load deal. I have a load thing here somewhere. I can't find it. Let me see if I can make one real quick. Okay, we're going to take this resistor. It's a 400 ohm resistor, and we're going to put it across fence to ground. Now, dead short is 0 ohms. Between fence and ground, that's a dead short. Between fence and ground, that's 0 ohms. 400 ohms is going to drag this down, but not going to be too bad. I mean, it's going to drag it down some. And you saw it was reading before, you know, 14, 12, 9, 13, whatever. Somewhere in that 13, give or take range. Now we're going to put this resistor across this thing and plug it in. Now this number won't not climb that high. It's going to probably go to 6 or 8 or 9. See? Tells you you've got a, you know, if you walk by your fence, your charger, and all of a sudden it shows 9 or 8 or 5, you know, 6. You know, you've got a load on it. That means you've got probably an issue out on your fence. So let's put the tester across here. It shows 9,000 volts. Like, oh, man, it's still putting out 9,000. Yeah, let's see what it actually puts out. Not too bad. Still putting out 7,000. So if you walk by the next day or next week or two, now it's down to like 3. You're like, ooh, okay. Let's start troubleshooting. Is it my charger? Is it my fence? Ooh, it's already starting to get warm. So it's a pretty nice, you know, pretty nice unit. I mean, these Parmax aren't bad. I mean, they're pretty reasonable for the money. New ones, I think they've had some little quirks with them. I think they're kind of getting that stuff straightened out a little bit. Everything, but well, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, we appreciate that. If you don't want to subscribe, okay. Hit the thumbs up button if you like. If you don't want to, okay. But there's our information right there, our address. We also work on cattle skills, low bars for weighing animals and different things. Gallagher and True Test, the main brands that we work on. And until next time, we'll see you guys later on.